Scott Fowler Panthers Eric Reid won't stop kneeling during the anthem. We've got to keep Spartanburg, SC. What will change, he hopes, is how well he plays when the music stops and the hitting starts. Reid, 27, is one of the NFL's most polarizing players because he kneels every week during the national anthem to protest racial inequality and social injustice in America. Reid plans to In fact, Reid said, he believes America is getting a little worse for African Americans. Facing a shortage of safeties, the Panthers signed Reid 3 games into last season to a 1-year deal. He knelt each weekend, to quote Panthers owner David Tepper's comments to NFL Films, Reid caught on to the defensive system quickly enough and the Panthers were desperate enough that they started him immediately. It was far from ideal. Reid ended up all. The Panthers thought so, too. The team struggled. Reid and Colin Kaepernick, his close friend and former teammate with the San Francisco 49ers, settled their collusion lawsuit against the NFL a few days later for an undisclosed sum. So this season in theory should be much quieter for Reid. He's no longer The Panthers' new 3-4 schemes seem familiar to him, too. The 49ers also played a 3-4 for much of Reid's 5 years there. Of course, Reid isn't the type to get too comfortable when he sees something. Replying to another comment generated by that tweet, Reid wrote, "That's Reid. He thinks about a lot." When I asked Reid where he had spent most of his summer, his answer surprised me: South Africa.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot bar. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.